Gentlemen, let me ask you something most men your age think but rarely say out loud. After 60, have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror, sighed, and told yourself, well, I guess this is just age, you're not alone? Millions of men believe that fading strength in the bedroom is inevitable, that soft or unreliable erections are simply part of growing older. But I'm here to challenge that story, because the truth is more surprising and more hopeful than you've been told. I am Dr. Jonathan Prescott, professor of urology and men's health researcher with over 3 decades of experience helping men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s reclaim their vitality. I've devoted my life to guiding older men away from myths and toward science, away from quick-fix gimmicks and toward real practices that restore strength, confidence, and dignity. And tonight, I want to share something that may shock you. Your ability to stay firm doesn't begin with a pill, a pump, or a promise. It begins with the way you wash your body. Yes, something as simple as washing 4 overlooked areas every single day can mean the difference between frustration and fulfillment, weakness and renewed manhood. Most men ignore this, and that neglect quietly destroys their vitality. I've seen it happen countless times in my clinic. They spend thousands on supplements, shots, or risky procedures, but they overlook the one daily act that costs nothing, is completely natural, and is backed by medical science. Wash the right areas the right way and you strengthen blood flow, protect your nerves, keep testosterone firing, and preserve firmer, healthier erections well into your later years. Now, before I reveal these 4 forgotten areas, I want to invite you into a community that's growing every day. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss a message crafted for men your age. And let's make this conversation two-way. Drop a 1 in the comments if you believe this advice could help you, or a 0 if you want me to work harder to earn your trust. I read every single comment, and your feedback truly shapes these episodes. And one more thing, if you find value here, tap the like button right now. Not just for me, but for yourself. When you click like, think of it as planting a flag declaring that your health still matters. And here's my promise to you. May every like you give bring you stronger mornings than the ones before. May every like you tap be a blessing that adds years of confidence to your life. And may every act of support remind you that your best days are not behind you, they are waiting just ahead. So, gentlemen, stay with me, because in the next moments, I'll show you how the overlooked details of daily hygiene hold the keys not only to your erections, but to your energy, your dignity, and the way you carry yourself as a man. When I sit across from men in their 60s or 70s, the story often begins the same way. They lean back, look me in the eye, and say, "Doctor, I thought my erections faded just because of age." Isn't that what happens to every man? And yes, age does play a role, but it's not the whole story. In fact, there's a hidden truth that few doctors mention and even fewer men realize. Your hygiene, the way you wash and care for your body every day, is directly tied to the strength of your erections. Now I know what you're thinking. Hygiene, you mean showering, but let me explain. This isn't about smelling good or looking polished. It's about what happens deep inside your body when certain areas are neglected. Hidden infections, chronic irritation, low-level inflammation, these things quietly disrupt the very system that controls your erections. And most men don't see it until it's too late. Think about how an erection works. It's not random, not a lucky accident. It's one of the most sophisticated processes in the human body. Your brain lights up with desire, nerves send signals down your spinal cord, blood vessels widen, nitric oxide is released, and a surge of blood flows into the chambers of your penis. That system has to work like a symphony, each part perfectly in tune. But what happens if your body is constantly under attack from bacteria or low-grade inflammation? The blood vessels stiffen, the nerves lose sensitivity, the chemistry that produces nitric oxide falters, and suddenly the strength you once relied on is gone. I remember one man in his mid-60s, a retired firefighter named Frank. For years, he assumed his weakening erections were just old age catching up. He tried testosterone patches, expensive supplements, even risky injections. Nothing lasted. But when we looked deeper, we found he had neglected simple hygiene. He wasn't caring properly for his gums, his perineum, or even his feet, which had chronic fungal infections. These small irritations were feeding constant inflammation. Once he began a daily routine of careful washing and basic care. Within months, his blood pressure improved, his energy returned, and to his astonishment, his erections came back stronger. He told me with tears in his eyes, "Doctor, I never thought something so simple could change so much." And Frank's story isn't unique. I've seen it again and again. The man who blamed his age when in truth it was neglect. The man who thought his testosterone was gone when it was his circulation being poisoned by hidden bacteria. Hygiene, when done right, is not cosmetic, it's medicine. Gentlemen, before you point the finger at aging or bad luck, I want you to look at this forgotten link. Hygiene is not only about avoiding disease, it's about protecting the very engine of your masculinity. Every washcloth, every moment of care is an investment in your blood flow, your nerve health, and your ability to stay confident in the bedroom. And I'll tell you this, I've seen a simple bar of soap outperform a $500 prescription because sometimes the basics are what matter most. So the next time you step into the shower, don't see it as routine. See it as a declaration of respect for yourself, your partner, and your future. Because the truth is this, your erections aren't simply a casualty of aging. They are a reflection of how you treat your body, inside and out. Now that you understand this hidden connection, let's move into the first of the 4 critical areas you must wash. And I'll start with one you've heard of before, but perhaps never truly respected, the very root of your male vitality. Gentlemen, brace yourself for a truth most men never hear from their doctor. Your mouth may be one of the most important keys to your erections. I know it sounds odd. What could brushing your teeth possibly have to do with firmness in the bedroom? But let me tell you, after more than 30 years of working with older men, I've seen again and again that this connection is real. It is powerful, and it is often the missing link no one talks about. Inside your mouth lives a bustling city of bacteria. Some are harmless, even helpful, but others are dangerous invaders waiting for their chance. When you're young and attentive, your immune system and daily brushing keep these intruders under control. But after 60, when dental visits get postponed, when gums begin to recede, when bleeding during brushing becomes normal, those bacteria don't stay confined to your mouth. They slip quietly into your bloodstream. And once inside, they go hunting for your arteries, including the ones that feed your heart and, yes, your penis. What happens next is a chain reaction. The bacteria fuel chronic inflammation, your blood vessels lose flexibility, the delicate lining inside those vessels, what we call the endothelium, begins to stiffen. Without healthy, elastic arteries, blood cannot rush into the chambers of your penis with force. Without that surge, erections fade, confidence falters, and intimacy suffers. I'll never forget George, a 70-year-old retired engineer who came to me after years of frustration. He had tried everything: testosterone therapy, little blue pills, exotic supplements ordered online, but nothing worked. During his exam, I noticed severe gum disease, swollen gums, loose teeth, constant bleeding. I told him plainly, "George, your problem isn't just down there, it's in your mouth." He chuckled at first, but I pressed him. We built a plan: twice daily brushing, nightly flossing, antiseptic rinses, and routine cleanings with his dentist. 6 months later, George walked back into my office with a smile brighter than his teeth had been in years. He said, "Doc, I can't believe it. My wife noticed the difference before I did." His erections had returned, stronger and more reliable, not because of a pill, but because he cleaned up the very entry point of his bloodstream. And George isn't alone. The study after study confirms this. Men with chronic gum disease are significantly more likely to suffer erectile dysfunction. The culprit is systemic inflammation. It doesn't stay in your mouth. It poisons the chemistry of nitric oxide, the very molecule that triggers blood vessels to expand. Without nitric oxide, blood flow stalls and erections fail. So let me reframe how you see your toothbrush. It is not just a tool for fresh breath. It is your daily prescription for better circulation. Every stroke against your teeth protects the arteries that matter most. Every length of floss you run between your gums clears the path for stronger blood flow below the waist. And every rinse is more than hygiene, it is maintenance for the machinery of your manhood. Gentlemen, you must stop treating oral care as optional. This is not vanity, this is survival. When your gums bleed, your vessels suffer. When your teeth decay, your arteries weaken. And when your mouth is neglected, your erections fade quietly year after year. So tonight, when you stand at the sink, toothbrush in hand, I want you to see it differently. Don't rush it. Don't shrug it off. Know that in those few minutes you are doing far more than cleaning your teeth. You are reclaiming your confidence, your dignity, and your future as a man. And here's the kicker. If your mouth, a place so far from your groin, has this much power over your performance, imagine what happens when we turn to another part of your body that reveals the state of your entire circulatory system. Because the next area, gentlemen, is not only surprising, it may be the ultimate foundation of your erections. Gentlemen, now we arrive at the most obvious yet the most neglected part of your body, the genitals. Yes, the very root of your male vitality. You may think, of course I wash there, doc, everyone does. But here's the truth, most men don't give this area the attention, the care, or the respect it deserves. And over time, that neglect chips away at the very foundation of your manhood. I've spoken with countless men, retired factory workers, lifelong farmers, military veterans who admitted to me in hushed voices that they never really cleaned their private parts with much thought. They rinsed quickly, maybe splashed some water, but rarely cleansed thoroughly. Some felt embarrassed to even discuss it, as though acknowledging the need for proper care meant weakness. But I remind them this is not about shame. It is about survival, dignity, and intimacy. Here's what happens when this area is neglected. Sweat, skin oils, and small traces of urine accumulate around the penis and testicles. For men who are uncircumcised, that buildup collects beneath the foreskin, feeding bacteria and yeast. At first, it may just feel like a mild itch, a faint odor, or a bit of irritation. But beneath the surface, something far more dangerous is happening: chronic inflammation. And inflammation, gentlemen, is the silent enemy of erections. I recall one patient, Leonard, a 64-year-old from Texas. He came to me defeated, convinced that his days of intimacy were over. He had been battling recurring irritation, occasional burning, and steadily weakening erections. When we discussed his hygiene habits, it became clear he had never been taught how to properly clean under the foreskin or around the base of the penis. After years of buildup, his urethra was irritated, his prostate inflamed, and the blood vessels supplying his erections were compromised. Once we addressed hygiene with warm water, gentle soap, and daily care, something remarkable happened. Within months, his irritation disappeared, his confidence returned, and his erections strengthened in a way he hadn't felt in years. Leonard looked at me, shaking his head, and said, "Doc, I thought my manhood was gone. Turns out I just needed to take care of it." Science supports what Leonard experienced. The penis and testicles are surrounded by a network of delicate vessels and nerves. When bacteria linger, they release toxins that climb upward, irritating the urethra, disturbing the prostate, and eventually restricting blood flow. What begins as a simple hygiene issue becomes a vascular and neurological problem, the very systems responsible for erections. Gentlemen, I cannot stress this enough. Your genitals are not just another body part. They are the root of your vitality, the center of your masculine identity. To neglect them is to surrender the very thing you're trying to preserve. Proper hygiene here does not require anything fancy. You don't need expensive washes, harsh chemicals, or complicated routines. What you need is consistency, warm water, mild soap, and gentle attention every single day. Think of it as an act of respect. Respect for the years your body has carried you. Respect for the partner who shares intimacy with you. Respect for the man you still are and the man you want to remain. This is not vanity. This is medicine. This is self-respect. When you step into the shower tonight, I want you to shift your mindset. Don't see it as a quick rinse. See it as an investment. When you carefully clean your genitals, you're not just removing dirt, you're protecting your circulation, preserving your nerves, and defending your dignity. You are making a statement that your manhood still matters. And let me say this plainly. The strongest men I've ever treated were not the ones who lifted the heaviest weights or fought the fiercest battles. They were the ones humble enough to care for themselves, to take small daily actions that preserved their strength far into old age. Washing your genitals may sound simple, even trivial, but in truth, it is one of the most powerful steps you can take to preserve your erections, your confidence, and your legacy as a man. Now, if this area is the root of your vitality, what about the places that men almost never think about? Areas hidden in plain sight, quietly influencing your strength without you realizing it. In the next section, we'll look at a spot that surprises nearly every patient I meet. It's not the groin, not the mouth, but something even more discreet, yet critical to your erections. Gentlemen, before we move deeper into the body, I want to pause for something special. Every week, I read your letters and your comments. Some are heartfelt, some are skeptical, and a few are downright funny. But each one matters because this conversation isn't just me speaking into a microphone, it's a dialogue with you. Tonight, I want to answer a few of the questions that came in after our last session. Question 1, Dr. Prescott. Does any of this still matter if I'm diabetic? My sugar's been high for years. A thoughtful question and one I hear often. Diabetes does complicate erections because it damages both blood vessels and nerves. But here's the good news. Hygiene becomes even more important for men with diabetes. Your body is more vulnerable to infections, so neglecting these areas accelerates the decline. By keeping your genitals, perineum, mouth, and feet clean, you reduce the inflammation that diabetes tries to amplify. Will it reverse everything overnight? No, but it will give your blood flow and your nerves the best possible chance to respond. Question 2, Doc, I'm 73, widowed, and I don't have a partner. Why should I care about erections at my age? My friend, erections are not just about sex. They are about circulation, vitality, and identity. A man with healthy erections is a man whose arteries are open, whose nerves are alive, whose confidence remains intact. Even if you never plan to share intimacy again, this is about how you carry yourself, how you feel when you wake up in the morning, and how long your body serves you with dignity. Don't wash for someone else, wash for yourself. Question 3, Doctor, be honest. This sounds like common sense dressed up to look dramatic. Is this just a way to get views? The skeptic's voice, sharp, direct, and necessary. Let me be equally direct. Yes, washing your body sounds like common sense. But in my clinic, I've met hundreds of men who spent small fortunes on pills, surgeries, and gimmicks while ignoring the basics. Common sense isn't common practice. I don't need views. I need men like you to live longer, fuller lives. If a few thousand more men scrub their perineum tomorrow because of this video, then I've done my job. Question 4, Doc, I fought in Vietnam. I've seen things that make this talk about hygiene sound small. Why should I listen? To the veterans listening, let me say this. You've already shown your courage in ways most men never will. But strength isn't only measured on the battlefield. Strength is also the humility to take care of yourself in small ways long after the battles are over. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone anymore. This is about honoring the years you've been given and making sure the man who fought so bravely still lives with dignity. Question 5 sounds like snake oil doc. If soap and water were so powerful, wouldn't every man over 60 already be fine? Smiling, I've heard this one more than once. Here's the truth. Many men simply don't do it consistently or correctly. They rush through, skip over, or believe the little irritations don't matter. But small infections add up. In medicine, it's not the grand battles that bring men down, it's the quiet, unaddressed problems that erode health piece by piece. Soap and water may not be glamorous, but they are a far cry from snake oil. They are the foundation. Gentlemen, your questions remind me of why I sit here, microphone in hand. You're not an audience, you're a community. Keep writing, keep asking, keep pushing back when you doubt. I read it all and I value it more than you know. Now, with that said, let's return to our journey through the body. We've talked about the mouth, the root, and the skeptic's doubts. Next, we travel to a place few men ever think about, yet it quietly controls the very muscles and nerves that fuel your erections. Gentlemen, let's move now to a part of the body almost no man talks about, yet it may be one of the most decisive highways of your strength, the perineum. For those who may not know the term, the perineum is the stretch of skin between the testicles and the anus. Small in size, yes, but immense in importance. Beneath that patch of skin lies a network of muscles, nerves, and blood vessels that serve as the engine room of your masculinity. Ignore it, and you choke off the very systems that give you firmness. Care for it, and you keep the machinery of intimacy alive. Most men barely give this area a thought. They wash their chest, their arms, their legs, maybe their genitals, and then move on. The perineum is left neglected, dismissed as unimportant. But over 3 decades of practice, I've seen this oversight ruin more confidence than almost any other. Sweat gathers there, bacteria thrive, traces of stool irritate this. At first, it's just mild discomfort. But irritation leads to inflammation, and inflammation does not stay local, it spreads. It seeps into the pelvic floor muscles, dulls the nerves that carry arousal signals, and stiffens the vessels that feed the penis. I recall a patient named Michael, 71, a retired schoolteacher. For years, he had battled weak erections despite trying medications, pumps, even acupuncture. When I examined him, I found constant redness and irritation in the perineal region. He admitted sheepishly, "Doc, I never really washed there. I thought the water running down in the shower was enough." We built a plan: warm water, mild soap, thorough but gentle cleansing every day. 3 months later, Michael came back with a new energy in his eyes. His irritation was gone, his pelvic floor stronger, and his erections had begun to return with surprising stability. He told me, almost embarrassed, "Doctor, I can't believe such a small change made such a big difference." Science backs up Michael's story. The perineum is more than skin. Beneath it lies the bulbus spongiasis and ischiocavernosus muscles, the very muscles that contract during orgasm and help trap blood inside the penis. When these muscles are chronically inflamed or weakened by poor hygiene, they can't do their job. And when the nerves in that area are dulled by irritation, the signals of arousal slow down. Add in the fact that bacteria and toxins can climb upward, affecting the prostate and urinary tract, and you begin to see why this forgotten strip of skin has so much power. Now let's talk practically. Caring for the perineum is not complicated, but it requires intention. Use warm water and a gentle soap. Wash slowly, not hurriedly. Pay attention to folds of skin and always rinse thoroughly. Dry the area carefully. Moisture left behind invites fungus and bacteria. For some men, especially those with limited mobility, a handheld showerhead or even a simple washcloth can make all the difference. This isn't about vanity. It's about defending the command center of your masculinity. The perineum influences bladder control, bowel health, prostate comfort, and yes, the strength of your erections. It's a crossroads of male physiology. Neglect it, and you weaken everything connected to it. protect it, and you preserve the very structures that make intimacy possible. Gentlemen, many of you grew up in a generation where talking about such things was considered shameful. But I want to be clear, there is nothing shameful about respecting your body. In fact, it is one of the most masculine acts you can perform. The men I most admire are not those who boast about conquests, but those who quietly, humbly care for themselves and arrive in their 70s with strength still intact. So tonight, when you step into the shower, don't overlook this hidden highway. Don't let habit or embarrassment rob you of vitality. See the perineum as what it truly is, a gatekeeper. A small piece of skin that holds the keys to your circulation, your nerves, your prostate, and your performance. Clean it, protect it, respect it. And remember this, sometimes the greatest strength lies not in lifting heavy weights or running long miles, but in tending to the small, hidden places that quietly shape your health. Now that we've uncovered the power of the perineum, it's time to travel even further down the body. Because the next area we'll explore may seem ordinary at first glance, but it reveals more about your circulation and your ability to stay firm than almost any other part of you. Gentlemen, let me take you to the part of the body that surprises nearly everyone I speak with, your feet. Yes, those calloused, often forgotten foundations that carry you through life. You may wonder, Doc, what do my feet have to do with my erections? The answer is simple, everything. Because your feet are the final stop in your circulatory system, and circulation is the ultimate key to firmness. Think about it. Your heart pumps blood through arteries that travel down, all the way to your toes before looping back up. If your circulation struggles to reach your feet, you can be sure it also struggles to reach your penis. Poor blood flow doesn't choose one area over another, it weakens the entire system. That's why men with cold feet, numb toes, or chronic infections often find their erections fading long before they realize the connection. I once treated a man named Robert, a 72-year-old retired mechanic. For years, he battled athlete's foot, ignored small cuts on his toes, and lived with thickened yellow toenails he considered just part of getting old. What he didn't realize was that each of these minor problems was fueling inflammation. Fungus between the toes, bacteria in untreated wounds, all of it was seeping into his bloodstream, quietly stiffening the arteries he depended on for erections. Robert had tried pills, even considered surgery, but nothing lasted. It wasn't until we addressed his feet, daily washing, thorough drying, antifungal cream, and careful trimming, that his circulation improved. 6 months later, he looked me in the eye and said, "Doc, I thought you were crazy, but my wife noticed the difference before I did." Science explains why Robert's story makes sense. The feet are loaded with small blood vessels and nerves. When infections linger there, they release inflammatory chemicals that don't stay put. They spread, damaging the endothelium, the lining of arteries that produce nitric oxide, the molecule that allows vessels to open wide for erections. If the vessels in your feet are compromised, you can be sure the vessels in your pelvis are suffering the same fate. Gentlemen, caring for your feet isn't just about comfort. It's about safeguarding your circulation. Wash them daily with warm water and mild soap. Dry thoroughly, especially between the toes where fungus loves to hide. Inspect them for small cuts or sores, because even a tiny wound can become a dangerous infection if ignored. And for those of you with diabetes, this advice isn't optional, it's essential. Your feet are the early warning system for your entire vascular health. Now, I know some of you may laugh. "Doc, I've survived wars, built companies, raised families. You want me to fuss over my feet?" To that I say yes, because strength isn't only proven in big battles, it's protected in small routines. The man who respects his feet respects his circulation. And the man who respects his circulation protects his erections, his energy, and his very dignity. Let me give you a simple image. Picture two rivers, one clear and flowing, the other clogged with debris. Which one will nourish the fields it passes through? Your blood vessels are those rivers, and your feet tell the story of how well they flow. Keep the foundation clear and the rest of the body, including your manhood, receives the vitality it needs. Gentlemen, I've seen too many men lose intimacy not because their hormones disappeared, but because their circulation collapsed. Don't wait for chest pain or a doctor's warning. Look down at your feet, they are mirrors of your arteries. Care for them and you are caring for your erections, your heart, your life. So tonight when you shower, bend down, take those extra minutes. Wash, dry, inspect. It's not a chore, it's a ritual, a reminder that your foundation still matters. And now, having traveled through the genitals, the perineum, the mouth, and the feet, you've seen how hygiene touches every part of your performance. But I don't want you to think this is just about sex. The truth is far deeper. In the next section, we'll explore the emotional side of this journey, why preserving strength isn't just about intimacy, but about how you see yourself as a man. Gentlemen, let's step back for a moment. Up until now, we've spoken about blood vessels, nerves, bacteria, and inflammation. We've talked about washing the genitals, the perineum, the mouth, and the feet. But let me tell you something important. This isn't just about hygiene. This isn't even just about erections. This is about how you see yourself as a man. Time and again, men have walked into my office broken, not only because they couldn't perform in the bedroom, but because they felt they had lost a piece of themselves. One man in his late 60s, James, told me through tears, "Doc, I don't feel like a man anymore." His wife never said a word, but inside he carried shame, isolation, and the fear that his best days were gone. And here's the truth I've learned. When a man believes he is finished, his body begins to follow that belief. But when he begins to reclaim his strength, something far deeper awakens. I've watched men stand taller, speak louder, laugh more freely, all because they rediscovered the confidence that comes with feeling whole again. Erections may seem like a physical event, but they ripple into every part of a man's life. They restore pride, renew purpose, and remind him that he is still alive, still capable, still worthy of love and respect. You see, small acts of care are not small at all. When you take the time to wash those 4 overlooked areas, you are telling yourself, "I matter, my health matters, my dignity matters." That simple declaration reshapes how you walk into a room, how you connect with your partner, how you play with your grandchildren, how you face each morning. I often tell my patients, strength isn't measured only by muscle or stamina. It is measured by how you carry your spirit into the later years of your life. A man who respects himself in small ways, who tends to his hygiene, his posture. His breath carries a quiet power that others can feel. His wife notices it. His children admire it. Even strangers sense it. And here is the paradox. Many men chase youth through pills, surgeries, or risky shortcuts. But dignity does not come in a bottle. Dignity comes from honoring the body you've been given and caring for it with intention. That's why this journey is about more than sex. It's about reclaiming your rightful place as a man who lives fully, loves deeply, and refuses to fade quietly into the background. Gentlemen, you are not defined by the years behind you, but by the choices you make today. And when you choose to care for yourself, not just for performance, but for pride, you send a message to everyone around you: I am still here, I am still strong, I still matter. So as we move forward, I want you to remember this. Each drop of water, each moment of care is a declaration of your worth. You are not doing this to chase a memory of who you were. You are doing this to embrace who you still are and who you can continue to be. Now that we've explored why this journey matters beyond the bedroom, it's time to bring everything together. In the next section, I'll show you how these habits, simple though they seem, fit into a larger map for reclaiming strength, health, and confidence for years to come. Gentlemen, let's pause and take a wide view of what we've covered so far. At first glance, everything I've asked you to do may sound simple: wash the genitals, the perineum, the mouth, and the feet. But if you look closely, you'll see that each of these areas connects to something much larger. Together, they form a system, a map for preserving the strength and confidence every man deserves. Think back to what we've learned. The genitals are the root of male vitality. Neglect them, and infections climb silently into the very vessels that power your erections. Care for them and you protect the foundation of your manhood. The perineum is the hidden highway carrying nerves and circulation straight into the engine room of intimacy. Keep it clean and you preserve the muscles and vessels that hold firmness. The mouth, surprising though it may be, is the gateway to your bloodstream. Oral bacteria left unchecked can poison your circulation and sabotage the chemistry of nitric oxide that drives erections. And finally, the feet, humble, overlooked, are the mirror of your circulation. If blood struggles to reach them, it struggles to reach everywhere, including the one place you need it most. On their own, these may sound like small habits, but when combined, they create a shield. A shield against inflammation, against hidden infections, against the quiet erosion of manhood that too many men accept as just aging. These four areas are not about vanity or appearance, they are about dignity. They are about choosing to respect yourself in the details, knowing those details shape the bigger picture of your health. I've seen men transform by embracing this truth. They walked into my clinic bent with frustration, convinced they were finished. But when they started caring for these overlooked areas, when they began to see hygiene not as a chore but as medicine, something shifted. They stood taller, their energy returned, their confidence in intimacy followed, and perhaps most importantly, their outlook on life changed. Gentlemen, this is what I want you to carry forward. Your body responds to the respect you give it. Each drop of water, each careful moment of cleansing is not wasted. It is an investment. An investment in your circulation, your nerve health, your hormones, your performance, and your very sense of self. And so, as we move to the conclusion of this journey, I want to leave you with a final message. My personal words to you as a doctor and as a man who has spent his life guiding others through these same battles. Because in the end, this isn't just about hygiene. It's about reclaiming your place, your pride, and your future. Gentlemen, as we close this journey together, I want to step away from science for just a moment and speak to you heart to heart. I've spent more than 3 decades listening to men your age, men who carried quiet fears, hidden frustrations, and the heavy belief that their best years were behind them. I know what it feels like to think you've lost your strength, your confidence, your manhood. But I am here to remind you your story is not finished. What we've discussed tonight may sound simple, washing 4 areas of your body. But these are not small acts, they are daily declarations. When you wash your genitals with care, you protect the root of your vitality. When you tend to your perineum, you guard the hidden highway of muscles and nerves that fuel intimacy. When you brush and floss, you shield your bloodstream from inflammation that steals your strength. And when you care for your feet, you honor the foundation of your circulation, the very lifeline of your erections and your heart. Each act costs you nothing but a few moments of attention. Yet together they give back something priceless: dignity, confidence, and the ability to live as a man who still matters, still stands tall, still embraces life fully. These habits are not chores, they are medicine, they are respect, they are hope. I've seen men in their 70s walk into my clinic defeated and walk out months later with their spark restored because they chose to take ownership of the small things. And you can do the same. Whether you are 60, 70, or 80, it is never too late to reclaim strength. So tonight, when you step into the shower or stand at the sink, don't see these rituals as routine. See them as investments in your future. See them as a message to yourself: I still matter. My health still matters. My manhood still matters. Because the truth is, gentlemen, your best days may not be behind you, they may still be waiting ahead. If this message has given you hope, do me one favor, tap the like button. Think of it as a handshake between us, a pledge that you're ready to respect yourself in the small ways that make the biggest difference. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and leave a comment below, whether it's A1 to say this helped you, or a question for me to answer in a future episode. I read them all, and your words guide me as much as mine guide you. Gentlemen, I'll leave you with this blessing. May your mornings be stronger than your nights, may your years ahead be richer than your past, and may you carry the quiet confidence of a man who knows he still matters.